Hello my amazing peeps, this is Kat aka Kakibot and I make videos about life and travel around Edinburgh and Scotland. And today it is very much about life in Scotland because it is about how we tried and eventually succeeded at finding a new flat here in Edinburgh. And it wasn't easy, but I'm really happy that I'm making this video now because my plan was to shoot it today anyway, but I didn't know if by this point I actually would have found a flat. So it is, working out perfectly. I'm very happy that now I actually do have the authority to tell you how to find a place to live, or, I can at least give you some tips based on our experience. If you watched my life update video from like a month ago, you know that we were essentially told to vacate this place and we were given very generous 6 months, which usually doesn't happen, but now under the new COVID rules, it actually is a bit more generous when it comes to the time that you're given to move, and that is great, because if it was just the 2 months and it was in the time of the year when we started looking, it would be a freaking disaster and it would be very anxiety inducing. So it's really good that that wasn't the case, but I'm happy that we found a place as early in the process as we actually did. Now this place, we like it, but we have been here for 5 years and it is £950, I think, a month. And yeah, it is a 2-bedroom, but this is technically the 2nd bedroom, and as you can see, this is not even a double bedroom, so Also, we do have an issue with some like mildew and mold, and there's a lot of humidity kind of like just sticking around, and that is actually not the flat's fault really. This is our neighbor's fault. I'm gonna be quiet now because they might hear us. They know, they are very aware what they did to us. So we did have some water damage from them in 3 different places, and that's basically when the owners of this flat came in and they were like, wow, this is much worse than we thought. We need to like fix this like quite dramatically, and for that we can't really stay here, and that's why we had to move. Now, what we decided to look for, because again, as you know, this place has its downsides, so we were basically thinking this is a great opportunity to upgrade a bit. We decided we wanted a 3-bedroomer, and we set our top limit to like £1,500 a month, which is a lot, but especially like, I think that if you are now mentally comparing it to the £950 we pay here, it sounds like a great jump, but I think that it was necessary because within that sort of money limit, we were able to see a couple of flats, or like a bunch of flats that were pretty good. But when we window shopped for like other 3-bedroomers, we would definitely see many of those being like 1,800, 2,000 a month, especially, when you get to areas like, Newtown. Other 2 things that we were looking for was it needed to be in a walkable distance from the city center, but not really like slap bang in the middle of the city center, because you don't really want that. Like, Edinburgh gets quite busy with visitors, during the summer festivals. It can be quite like overwhelming to be always surrounded by all those extra people visiting, and we love you visitors, but I don't really enjoy being as like overstimulated by crowds. So I thought it would be nice to live somewhere similar as we are here, because like here we are like 30 minutes walk from like the middle of Edinburgh, and that works perfectly for me, so we were kind of hoping for something like that. And the last thing that was a box to tick for us was that we wanted it to be unfurnished, because in the start when we started looking, we did see a couple of places that were furnished, and because there isn't really many unfurnished places in Edinburgh on the letting market, and that's frustrating, because like once you rent out a place that's unfurnished and you buy the furniture, that makes finding the next place really complicated. And in theory, you can ask the landlord to remove stuff, but if anyone else asks for the same flat and says, oh, we love the furniture, then like they're not gonna pick you, right? Because like you're the one who makes demands. And yeah, so it's really good if you're in that situation to just, save yourself the time and like the stress, and just look at unfurnished places, even though that will take more time. Yes. Now, earlier I mentioned that August and September are not a good time to try and find a new place to rent, and actually in 2021 it's been worse than ever. I did talk to a couple of the letting agents about this, and they did basically support our theory that not only you kind of start in August with the festival lets, which are kind of like short-term lets, but they do kind of block out some of the properties that might normally be available for actual normal long-term renters. Then there's also a lot of students that start kind of trickling in from like middle of August to middle of September. That's quite a big group of people that will specifically be looking at these 2 and 3 bedroomers. Because obviously they want to split the costs, that makes sense. They will also be looking for those furnished places, and that's why landlords put all that furnishing in. And it's usually like you can see that the landlords have this beautiful place and they buy these cheapo beds in IKEA, and like they're new, like you can tell that they didn't have them before, they just got them there for the students. And when you're not a student and you haven't been a student for the past 9 years, you get sad. Well, and the last group of people who are kind of, finding a place really hard right now are people who started working from home and realized that their current home is really small and it's making them depressed and anxious and claustrophobic, and they're looking for something better because it suddenly started feeling like a much easier to justify expense for them, which kind of, we, I guess, fall into that with like 1 foot. But if we didn't have to move, we probably wouldn't be moving anytime soon. But because we have to, we are kind of like lumped into that group as well. Because yeah, as I said, it's this place is nice, but after being in lockdown for so many months, it feels really easy to justify paying more money to just like stay somewhere like top notch. So now about where we looked for the places. So I am a huge fan of all the aggregator sites. I actually started looking on Zoopla. I always liked that they had this feature where you can kind of like draw on the map, which I think is good if you've been in Edinburgh and you kind of know the areas, but you might not know like where certain areas officially start and end, or where like postcodes start and end. It's nice that you have that visual aid for that and you can filter through there. But then a friend of mine recommended me a different aggregator site, which is called onthemarket.com, and from what I've seen, they seem to get the ads from the agency sites a bit faster, which is really important because like, especially in this time when there are so many people looking for new places, you have to be very speedy. So in the end, it seems like On The Market is the better place to go. You can also set up alerts, and then you will basically, every time someone adds a new ad for the sort of property that you're looking for, you're gonna get an email, and you don't have to just sit on the website and refresh and browse and pray. That's what I did like the first month. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it didn't let me be very productive at work. I'm just gonna add a note on sizing and like creating that filter for your alert, because I would say that there's basically like 3 main types of property in Edinburgh. You will get the newer style of flats, which would be basically anything built from like 70s, 80s onwards, and those tend to be small. The ceilings tend to be low, the windows tend to be small, which is good for retaining heat. So I would say that's like these places are not bad to live in, but you will have less natural light inside. And if you're tall, or if you're just like not hobbity in your body type, you might just not enjoy living in those. That's kind of how I feel about them. On the other hand, when you have the old tenement houses, those I always like, they are full of surprises. Like on one hand, a lot of the flats look really similar, but on the other, like when you go and view them, you always see these like secret wardrobes, and they have these box rooms, which tend to be like a room of like, it can be up to this size really. So like you can have an extra room in your flat that's not listed as a bedroom because it doesn't have a window. So you have to decide what you want to use it for. A lot of people use it for an office. Simon does that in this flat, and I'm not sure he loves it. I think that He's showing me a thumb up, but I think that he's very happy that we're moving somewhere where he's gonna get a window. He's now giving me many thumbs up. So yeah, like, you know, living without daylight is not great for your mental health. So yeah, it's a good place to either have like a lot of storage, or you can have like a gaming nook, or, you know, if you don't work from home all the time, then it can be a study, something like that. But what I wanted to say is that if you are willing to make a large box room one of your bedrooms, or like one of the rooms that you're looking for, in that alert that you're setting up, you should keep that in mind, and maybe also allow that alert to like involve properties that have like one less bedroom, if you know what I mean. I also wanted to mention colony houses, which is one of the ones that we're moving into. Yeah, which kind of like falls outside of these two categories, because colony houses were basically created to offer this better type of living for working classes instead of the tenement houses. I think that like now tenement houses are nice, because I think that you know, nowadays a flat in a tenement house is not meant for nearly as many people as it was intended for originally when they built them. But but basically colony houses were supposed to give people a much like nicer, more picturesque way of living. And if you're looking at getting one of the colony houses, you basically have like 100% certainty that you will also get a front yard, which is really nice. Like in Edinburgh, it's really nice to have your own little green space where you can get a bit of sun. You know, who wouldn't want that? Again, especially after lockdown, where, you know, we had months when it was really hard to just like keep going to the same park forever and ever, and like you weren't even allowed to chill on a bench. I'm hoping that's not gonna happen again. But yeah, after that experience, it feels like investing into a place that does have its own garden is amazing. Also, one extra note on the difference between old tenement houses and the newly built flats is that the newly built buildings will usually have a elevator, lift. Which one is it here?
Yes. Both.
Lift. Yeah. No, which one is British and which one is American?
A lift.
Okay, they have a lift. While in tenement houses, that basically never happens, which, you know, like back in Prague, there's spaces where they can build that lift into that old house, but here I've never seen that. It's almost like fascinating that in Edinburgh that has never started happening in old houses, but it is something to think about if you have any mobility issues, you know, if you're all about accessibility. If that's something you need to keep in mind, then, you know, you might actually thrive better in one of the newly built buildings. Now, we're kind of in the middle of the video, so we're gonna have a look at some of the actual places that we went to view. Yay, exciting! I'm gonna take my computer and I'm gonna look at the stuff that I'm also gonna show you like here on the screen, and I'm gonna maybe give you like a tiny bit of commentary. Okay, so I can take you to 5 different places, and none of them is the one that we actually did win in the end. These are 5 other ones. First one is the Abercorn Road one, which was our first favorite. It is quite close to this area. It's actually a bit further away from the city center, and I think that was one of its biggest downsides, but it was actually a really pretty place. It had this beautiful kitchen. This was before we realized that we need to look for unfurnished, so I think that's the reason why we didn't get this place, was because we asked the landlord to move quite a lot of the bits away, because we have our own bits to move in. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a deal breaker for the landlord. It was also on the 4th floor, so as you can imagine, if you had quite a lot of stuff to move, including a bed and a sofa, I think that we probably would have hated that moving process, so maybe it's good that it didn't work out. Plus, again, like it's quite far away from the city center, like it was kind of like pushing it, but it had beautiful views. I would still quite like it, I'm not gonna lie, plus it was 1,200 per month. So yeah, I thought that it was a good deal and it was beautiful. Too bad about the beds. Now the next one we saw, which we super loved on paper, was this little flat on Ferry Road, which actually had 2 floors, which, you know, was super charming. And again, like, I think that personally I am really attracted to all the flats that are a bit atypical in a way. So yeah, this was in an area that, like, specifically around the flat, there wasn't really that much happening, but it was really close, like quite a walkable distance from Stockbridge, and obviously between Stockbridge and this place you would have the Botanics, which, you know, for like quality of life, I imagine is amazing. So yeah, we loved the position, but what we didn't like was kind of, it was kind of small, like, I think that's, oh, and it was only 2 beds, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, so it was 2 beds for 1,150 per month, and we thought we would give it a look because, you know, on paper, again, it looked really exciting and different, but then we basically realized that Simon would have to create an office in the living room, so we didn't go with it, but it was really pretty, and I think it's gonna make someone very happy. This is like talking about my exes. I mean, honestly, looking for flats is a bit like being on Tinder. I mean, I have been in a committed relationship for the past 9 years, so I don't know how any of those things are, but I imagine that being on onthemarket.com is very much like Tinder. So next up we were at Comely Bank Avenue, and that one was 1,500. So as you can see, it was quite sort of high up, you know, basically just like brushing our top limit of what we were willing to pay. It was absolutely beautiful though. The furnishing was wonderful, but again, like, it was furnished, so we just thought, you know, we probably wouldn't be able to make the owner move the furnishing for us, especially considering the furnishing was so pretty. It had this beautiful kitchen, like the kitchen looked kind of like you live in a castle or something. Yeah, so plus the area, basically Stockbridge, so very posh. I think this was definitely a place where you paid a lot for someone doing some impressive renovations on the property. But yeah, like, I think that for the price it wasn't quite something that we were willing to pursue. Next up, this one we felt was actually like a really good deal money-wise. This was in Tower Place, which is in Leith, and it's really close to the shore. And the shore is arguably the prettiest part of Leith. The problem is that you get a lot of buildings that like overlook the shore, and then you have a lot of buildings that are kind of like behind. And also one thing that you need to keep in mind right now, the Leith is now filled with tram works, and I'm not sure how long that's gonna take, but definitely at least like half a year, if not another year. It's very loud, it creates a lot of dust, and it just kind of, you know, it destroys that sense of peace and calm. So, you know, like, if you mind that, maybe you don't want to live somewhere around where the trams are being built. Obviously, the silver lining is, if you stay there long enough, then at the end of it, you will live on the tram line, which, you know, might be practical to get to the center and to the airport. But yeah, anyway. So this place, I think that if it was overlooking a slightly different area, we would really like it, but it had a balcony, which obviously is a big plus, but the balcony was kind of like overlooking a slightly kind of
Rotty Street.
Yeah, kind of, it just didn't have like any views, and honestly, none of the windows actually had any views, which I feel like is really sad when you live this close to the sea and everything you see is like ugly buildings and ugly streets and tram works. So yeah, we decided against that in the end, even though I thought that the pricing was a great motivator because, again, 1,150. It was unfurnished, so we thought like maybe if we put some effort into it, we would be able to make it like homey, but I think that the location kind of killed it for us. And then we had the Abbey Hill colonies. So funnily enough, at the very last stretch of our flat hunting race, we did have like two flats that we were quite interested in, and both were colony houses. Because, you know, if you do visit some colony houses during your flat hunting, you're gonna see that like those places have a lot of character, and having that front yard is wonderful. And usually the area itself is just very charming, and there's, you know, gardens everywhere and cats and all of that. It's just nice. Like, who wouldn't want to live surrounded by tiny gardens? It's amazing. Yeah, so this one was very impressive. I think that it was 1,200, which I thought was a very, very fair price. One of the downsides was that when we entered, there were two massive spiders greeting us, which was like, that kind of spoiled my first impression of the house. And also it did have furnishing, which, by the way, looked better in person than on the pictures, but the kitchen was wonderful. You're gonna see in the footage that it was quite atypical and very spacious, and you would have this other room, you know, the sort of the living room lounge. And then on top of the property, there were 3 bedrooms, one of them quite large. There was quite a unique bathroom. By the way, the bathroom had the weirdest shower head. It was kind of like a shower head in some sort of like old gym locker. It was that sort of shower head that comes straight from the ceiling. But not like the modern posh one you get in hotel rooms, like the old one, like when you're by like outdoor like swimming pool and they ask you to have a little shower before you get into the swimming pool. That's what it looked like. And I thought, I really like this place, but if we get it, I think I'm gonna hate taking showers for the next 2 or 3 years. So it wasn't quite a deal breaker, but it was close to that, plus the spiders. So yeah, those were some of the places we saw. We actually saw more of them. I'm gonna take this off my lap because my lap is getting irradiated, and if not that, then at least very hot. Hot lap! So these were not all the places we went to see. Some of them still had some occupiers in them, so I didn't take any footage. That felt like, you know, that just didn't feel right. Also, they were a bit messy, so that would only scare you, I think. I'd be really interested to know which one of these 5 you would pick. Like, if you had to pick one of these 5, which one would you want to live in? I mean, it's probably gonna be the posh one in Commerzbank Avenue, because that one is the prettiest, but yeah, it was very expensive. So what we ended up with is a different colony house. I'm gonna show you in my next video, or the next video from the series. For now, I'm gonna keep it all secret, but yeah. Now we get to talk about how we actually made that happen. The interesting thing about this specific property that we were so interested in was that it actually has been on the market for quite a long time. We noticed it probably like middle of August or like early August, and we really liked it because the pictures were beautiful, and the original pictures actually had some of the furnishing from the original tenants, which is not gonna be there. But from that, I think it was clear that when they listed it, it still had the occupiers in there, and they didn't wish to be annoyed by prospective renters. So yeah, so we actually did book the viewing for like 3 weeks later, and at that point I was like, this feels weird, because all the other viewings were arranged within like a week. Usually you get, you know, like 5 days or a week. Also, just so you know, many of the listings that you will reply to will not reply back. Like, I would say it's like 50-50. We applied for many more flat viewings than we actually did get to in the end, so that can be kind of disheartening. Like, I don't know, I felt like it was a bit shitty. We did notice, however, that we got more success when we stopped using the email feature on the aggregator site, and instead we reached out to the agencies themselves. I think that that's a much better and a faster way of doing it. I think that speed is a really important part of this process. Like, you have to ask for the viewing as soon as it hits that website, and then you have to apply for it as soon as you know that you're willing to apply for it. Yeah, where was I? Okay, yeah, this place, our dream house, I'm just gonna refer to it as our dream house. Our dream house was around for quite a bit, and we had to wait for it for a long time, and I really thought we would find something else before that viewing. But we didn't, so like, I think that it actually magically worked out really well, that like none of the other flats that we saw, we didn't like them, or they didn't like us, and this dream house was waiting for us. yeah, so when you view somewhere and you love it, you apply as soon as possible. Sometimes there's kind of like two ways of doing it. Sometimes you simply kind of say like, I'm interested, and you tell them how much money you make, and you kind of like just put some info on paper, and then they kind of like vaguely screen you, and if they like you, they will ask for more paperwork to basically prove what you said in that first paper. Other agencies will ask you for all of those proofs straight away, which I think kind of makes more sense. Also, like if you're applying for multiple places, it just makes sense to like have those papers on you and just have them available to upload. Just, you know, just throw your tax accounts on everyone. Yeah, that takes me to what you're gonna need. You're gonna need to prove your income, you're gonna need to prove your identity, you might have your credit score checked, and also if you're a foreigner, you might need to prove that you're actually allowed to rent here. I'm not actually quite sure how that works. I was told that it's gonna be a big deal, and then in the end, when we were agreeing on this let of our dream house, they never asked me for it, even though I kept mentioning it. Maybe that's the reason, but it just feels a bit weird. Yeah, basically when you have a settled status, you log in into your like immigration account, and then you let them generate a code for you, and then you take that code and give it to the agent, and he will put that code into a specific website, and basically immigration office will tell them like this person can rent. Woohoo!
But they never asked.
Yeah, they did specifically ask about a lot of proofs of like how much money we have, which makes sense. Like that makes a lot of sense. By the way, one thing that wasn't a thing 5 years ago, but is very much a thing now, is that there's that specific rule about, so if you're applying for a place, if you are applying as a single person, you basically need to either make 30 times the rent in a year, or you have to have 45 times the rent in your savings account. If you're renting together with someone you're not related to, then obviously this can be split into two, which makes perfect sense. I am not quite sure how that works for like people who are married, or like siblings. It's kind of weird. Like it feels a bit wrong that if you were related to someone, you can't split it, right? But I guess that it just seems very old-fashioned. Maybe there is some wiggle space. But on the website of the letting agency that we were dealing with, it specifically said, if you're renting with someone you're not related to, then like, that's all great, like all clear, you can split. So like that sounded like you can't if, you know, you're with your husband or your brother or something. Well, you know, I guess you're gonna have to ask, because like that's not an experience I have, sorry, I'm not very helpful. Obviously, if you're a student and you don't have any income yet, you will need a guarantor.
A guarantor.
Mm-hmm.
Try that sentence again.
No, you. I am not ashamed of my inability to use this language properly.
A guarantor?
Well, you said it's like French.
A guarantor.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. Yes, that will usually be your parent, or it can be someone else as well, because I think that like if you're from abroad, I don't think that your parent can be your guarantor.
One of them.
Sorry. Because like when I moved here with Petra, I think that her boyfriend, who is local, did that for us. So like looking back at that, I'm like, I should probably go thank him. Ooh. I mean, that was pretty lucky. Okay, so when we applied, we had to wait for about 4 business days. I think it felt like longer than that, because we were very excited for the place. We really wanted it. And I spent so much time just like drawing floor plans and imagining what I'm gonna decorate with what and where I'm gonna put all my pumpkins and all of that. But yeah, in the end we got this email saying like, congratulations, this is all good. They picked you, and just please go to the website and sign the contract. Yes, because we did our flat viewing and letting through Apropos, which is like a small, like a sub agency of JD Alexander, or is it DJ Alexander?
One of them.
Okay. H. Alexander. Yeah, so it's like a big established company, but this is their little like digital daughter company, and like their shtick is that they do everything online, including all the signage and everything, and you know, paying the rent through their little online portal or app, which I feel like, I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Like, I think that just invites a great opportunity for bugs. And, you know, we both work in digital startups, and I don't trust anything digital unless someone is doing like a really nice job at it. So we did that, we did the signing, we sent them the deposit, we sent them first month's rent. We did tell them that we're actually traveling out of the country for the next like 3 weeks. And they were willing to postpone the start of the like renting period until like 21st, which is obviously great because like if it started now, but we've had to wait until 30th to move in, like it's like 11th today. So we would be basically wasting 20 days of rent money. And if you're interested, our deposit was 1,700-ish, which, you know, is a lot. I mean, we can only keep our fingers crossed that we're gonna get some of that back. Usually the good thing is about unfurnished places that there isn't actually that much to destroy. So yeah, keep your fingers crossed for us that we don't destroy anything by accident. Now we just have to go to Prague, have a little holiday, and then come back and get some movers to move like this behemoth of a desk and our sofa and our bed, and I think that all the small things we're gonna move ourselves. But this is all for the next video. I think that I'm gonna try and vlog about that to make sure that you have some info, especially kind of based on like our experience. What are the practicalities of moving from one place to another? I think that's gonna be useful for you. And if there's anything specific about that part of the process that you really want me to make sure that is in that video, please let me know in the comments below. I think that would be really helpful. That way I can kind of like prepare for that, and then in like a month's time I'm gonna have another video ready for you that is gonna be all about that move. Before I really finish this video, I had this little list of like takeaway tips from our experience, so I'm just gonna read that out for you. Number 1, use the aggregator sites. It's gonna save you a lot of time, and it's just a lot more practical than going to the specific letting agents. But yeah, when you're contacting them, then it's better to reach out to the letting agencies specifically. Number 2, look at houses and flats that seem on paper like they might be too small, but if they are older buildings, they might actually have a lot more space than it sounds. So, you know, specifically keep in mind that all tenement building flats do have box rooms. Number 3, have your paperwork ready and just, you know, go as fast as possible. Number 4, try to avoid August and September because it is a nightmare. Like, obviously this is a bit of a success story, but I think a part of that success is that we were willing to pay as much as we're paying. If you're on a tighter budget, I think that August and September really are not good times to look for a place. Number 5, be mentally prepared to sometimes be just flat out ignored. Like sometimes you're just gonna reach out and you're gonna see a place that looks perfect and they will just never get back to you because, you know, like 20 people were faster than you, and that's gonna be it. You just need to let it go. And number 6, if you are already renting in Edinburgh and you're renting with an agency that you generally have a good experience with, it is a good idea to reach out to them and tell them, we're looking for a new place, can you maybe fix us up with someone? Because that agency, based on their experience with you, is going to be much more likely to like prefer you over people who are asking for that specific let, who are like outsiders. Like, you are already in their system, you have been paying rent to them for years, and they probably appreciate that and they trust you based on that. Yeah. Okay, so those were some tips to finish off this video. I hope this has been helpful. I feel like it's a bit chaotic. Again, it's like very much built on our experience over the past 2 months or so. I did write the script, I did try to organize my thoughts, but I still feel like it's probably gonna be a bit of a mess. So yeah, fingers crossed this has brought some value to you. And yeah, next time I'm making a video in Edinburgh, it might be in our new house, and I'm very excited about that. We are so looking forward to move there. Yay! I really hope that there's gonna be more like shooting nooks there. It's a big priority for me. Anyway, Don't forget that I also exist on Instagram, on KakiBot and KakiBlog. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be in Prague, so maybe you're going to see some of my adventures from Czech Republic there. And also down in the doobly-doo, you will find a link to my Etsy store, even though in the next couple of weeks, again, I'm not around, so I'm not going to be able to ship anything. But if you're watching this in like October, November, and you're looking for some Christmas prezzies, then I got you covered. Okay, I will see you soon in our new house.